Evening all, welcome to Prison Architect 1.8. Welcome to Pyrex Towers version 2. Basically, this is kind of coming along well. This is, again, just, this game is so cool. I really can't stress how good this game has got. It's funny because the last build, I think version 10, it was just buggy enough for me to be kind of like, it's good, don't buy it. I was pretty harsh about it to my learned colleagues, that it was like a good game, but I was like, the bugs are just that bit annoying. With the version 11, they have fixed it, and it is smooth, and it's really enjoyable. And I think the thing is, again, I would stress, it takes time to get used to it. So you can see here all of the mistakes, and again, as I watch this back, I'm kind of laughing at all these mistakes I made, making really small, strange rooms. Even with just stuff like, you know, the basic rooms that I need to get certain grants. The reality is you don't necessarily need them to be so big, etc., etc. So I think certainly I would stress, give the game a go with a view to, like, you know, not, you know, start a few prisons that literally are going to, you know, you'll throw away eventually, because, you know, you need it to get to the point where you're having full-scale riots and you lose the prison to really understand what the hell you did wrong. And I think I've learned huge amounts from doing that. Just also the way that the needs work as well. Lighting, yeah, so much. I mean, there's a lot here, but it's such a satisfying game. It's also a bit of a strange one, really, because you'd think that there's not a lot of content to keep you entertained. It's only a prison. But I would say the challenge of this game is exceptional. It's been really beautifully branded and built together, and I think this is just only going to get better. So I think I know, and originally I did say to a lot of people, it's a lot. You know, it's £20, which is almost $30, I guess. You know, it does seem. You know, it was difficult to recommend it to people to buy with the previous version. I would say now this is worth buying. I really would, because it rewards you for being good, and I think there's very few games that do that. I think a lot of games will always kind of, you know, pat you on the back and give you a kind of a butt, a butt pat to say, you know, good game. But not a lot of games really reward you for actually doing a good job. And I think this one is ones that do. I've always enjoyed management games. I think management games are, I guess it's the dirty capitalist in me, but I've always enjoyed making money. And I think there's something enjoyable about, you know, putting an enterprise in place, trying to make money from it, blah, 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 blah. And I think this is one of the better games to do that. But again, it takes so long to get to the point where you even start to make money, which is a bit strange. Anyway, so we've got our prisoners coming in. There is a guy called Bacon Killer. I'm not even going to explain why he's called that. You can freeze frame and read it yourself. But the prisoners themselves are so funny. There's something beautiful about it. And with this new version, actually now, prisoners will serve their sentence and leave. That's just an amazing addition. I'm so pleased they've included that. So all of a sudden you start to lose prisoners and you think, well, are they escaping? And then you look at it and you realize they're walking out the front gate because they've served their time. And that is lovely. That's a lovely touch. I think also just everything around the way that the prison operates, as you can see, you know, having to have wardens and generally the way that these people, you know, will control the prison is really nice. I think it's such a deep game. I've now mentioned Sim Tower a lot. I don't know why, but this game really does remind me of Sim Towers. Maybe just because there's a lot of infrastructure discussions as such, and I kind of like that, I think. There's something about it. So we go. We've now got our infirmary. Now, again, the reality of the infirmary and the morgue, particularly, is that, you know, pretty much when riots break out and fights begin, you need to have. Well, you need them. If you haven't got them, then basically you're going to have a bad time. And yet, weirdly enough, pretty much all night that I played this, not a single sausage did I need them until the very end when I kind of made a mistake. So again, it kind of shows you that if you play well, if you play with a good, I guess, mindset, you can actually beat the game. You can ace the game effectively. Do you know what I mean? I think again, I would stress, there's not enough games like that where you really are rewarded for playing exceptionally well, and I think this is one of them. So again, probably some bad choices. Making narrow rooms like that, I think, is a pretty bad idea. As you can see, I'm trying to unlock maybe the last grant here just to get that $10,000 in. So I need a psychologist. But again, this is where You'll find this as you kind of play your own game. You get to the point where your prison is substantial, but yet you've now you've not got any money, and there really aren't enough prisoners to kind of give you that income. So you're now pretty much on maybe a 3 to 4 to 5 day I guess line where not a lot is going to happen, and you just have to maintain the prison. So you have to make sure your prisoners don't riot, and through gradually getting the little bit of trickling income that comes from the prisoners, you'll start to unlock certain things. I can only advise go straight for prison labor, because when you start to get the workshops, and you do need the laundry as well. One of the biggest challenges I had all the way through this was the clothing of the prisoners was getting dirty, and eventually you get to the point where they just riot. Now the laundry is something that I think was bugged in version 10, and I'm pleased to say I've not seen any bug in it now in version 11. It's working beautifully, and you'll see that in some of the later videos. But I think you've got to have a lot of forward planning to make this work. So as long as you can create enough food, as long as you can got enough cells, as long as you've got enough recreation activity, and as long as your regime is relatively good, then chances are your prisoners probably won't revolt. However, if you don't clean their clothes over days, they will start to get more and more unhappy. Then that's it, you've lost. And a lot of I had a lot of people contact me telling me that a lot of prisoners prisons have actually failed for no other reason they couldn't wash clothes. So it's a big deal. I know it sounds stupid, but seriously, if you've got stinky prisoners rolling around, they start to get a bit, twitchy. So I think it's worth considering. There's loads of upgrades and unlocks. As you can see, I kind of went for the security one as well. I thought CCTV cameras might be quite good. I'm not blown away by them. I think once you get deployment, that is certainly worth it. The ability to deploy and set patrol routes is absolutely essential. I can't stress that more. Okay. Also, I think one of the other things to bear in mind that I feel like I did a good job on in this build was I used metal detectors. And again, not yet, I still can't afford them, but eventually I get to the point where, and again, so here we go, I was installing them now. This was a word of advice from one of the comments. Thank you so much, dude. Seriously, having a metal detector on the way in means that no prisoner can bring anything dodgy in. Remember that video with the gun? No more of that. And also, I then build later on a few more around the prison. So you start to... And again, you have to have a warden near it, so this is why deployment's quite important. But eventually, once you get to that point and you have a properly working metal detector on the right routes, you then have no issue with contraband. I mean, no stabbings, nothing. The moment that somebody nicks a knife from the kitchen or wherever it may be, the metal detector gets them, they go to solitary, they go to lockdown rather, and that's it. And it's all dealt with very quickly. You don't get a situation where all of a sudden someone's been shanked with the end of a toothbrush that's been sharpened into a point that they've stuck in someone's face. You don't get any of that. I don't know if any of you watched Breaking Bad. I won't spoil the story, but there's this one bit in Breaking Bad. I think it's maybe the second last episode, where basically the protagonist, again I won't spoil it, but the protagonist has to kill people in prison and you can't get to them. And there is this sort of 5-minute montage of this dude basically doing the most unspeakable things to these prisoners. Now I watched that and I just sat and smiled, because this is exactly my worst nightmare in Prison Architect, is the prisoners literally just being so organized that they just kill someone without them even noticing. So I just walk behind them, bang in the back of the head with a sharpened toothbrush, and then gone. I mean, it's scary, isn't it? I mean, God, if prisons were, I think, more obviously like that, I think people would offend less. But I can only imagine that prisoners don't prey on each other as much as maybe the media lets you think they do. Anyway, so let's look at some of the needs. As you can see here, we don't look too much at the clipboard yet, but you start to find yourself looking at it a huge amount more, because the clipboard, I think, certainly has, when it comes to needs, you need to really understand what the issues are. Needs are obviously based upon the time of day as well. So most of the prisoners at the moment, they haven't, I think it's early morning. So they have slept, so they're fine on sleeping, but now they need hygiene. So the first thing we get them to do in the regime is they shower, then they eat, then they can have free time, then they get yard time, then they get more free time. Then we basically give them, lockdown time, and then that's it. Once you start to get your prisoners to work for you, you start to include work time. So you actually can make them go and do their own laundry. You can make them go and work in the metal shop. You can also make them go and work in the kitchen. So having work time near eating time is good, because you then need less cooks, because you can have maybe a couple of cooks and maybe 5 prisoners will go and cook. It's all good stuff. It's really, again, the detail that they built into the game is just astonishing. It really is. And I think it's good. So you see the hygiene one's just gone down there. And again, I know it's very Sims-like, but that's kind of how all management games are. And after a while, you start to get... Oh, did you see that? I think it beeped. Did one of them beep? I didn't see it. There we go. We now have deployment, finally. So now we can actually build some deployment routes. So as we do here, I'm just going to build literally a deployment route there. Now, tell me if I've got this wrong. I think it seems to kind of work. I'm not sure. But what I ended up doing was actually just guarding the common room block with 2 guards. And then everybody else can kind of do what they want. And then you can set some certain areas. So the offices are obviously staff only. And over time, your laundry becomes then general area, general use, and stuff like that. You'll see as we get to it. But I'm trying to figure out if I've actually got the prisoners doing, the guards doing that, but we'll see. But anyway, so we can see basically, I think the alarm went off for 1 or 2 of them, so they're now basically in lockup, and we've stopped them bringing in weapons, which is actually really important. So I would highly recommend that you get deployment as soon as humanly possible, because again, without it, you're going to have a lot of issues. So you can see here, I'm just putting in the grates on the shower, so that stops it overflowing everywhere. That's just a little tip I learned. And I think really, everything is kind of going to plan, really. I mean, as you can see, I've got a guard in each of the cell blocks now, so that's working really nicely. I've got a guard by the metal detector. That's a really nice feature. I think I've got a guard in a canteen, but I think they do that by default, and then 1 in the yard. So, yeah, it's kind of right. I mean, again, I don't know if I've got the deployment right as in terms of patrols. So maybe just let me know if I did that right or wrong. But as you can see, it's kind of working. And I think, the food's kind of working again. So, yeah, it's good. And again, I don't know what I've done wrong, maybe. As you can see, that's my patrol route. But I'm not even sure they're patrolling it. But anyway, we'll look at that. I think in terms of, again, the way, the depth of the game in terms of what you can do with it is very, very well done. Again, the stylization is good, but I think it's just enhanced by having some very good mechanics below it, like the needs. Yeah, there's more than just like 4 needs. I think that's what you get in The Sims. In this, you've actually got a lot of, family and recreation and comfort. I mean, comfort, that's a good one, really, but, they're all different things generally, and I kind of like that. I think they've really thought about it. And again, the way that every single image is different as well. Like the utility view is more of a blueprint view, and the deployment view is maybe like a sheet of a technical drawing. I think it's just such good stylization. They must have gone to art school, some of these dudes. So just fast forward again. So yard time. Now, yard time, I think, is something you can reduce a little bit. The yard time is really just there for exercise, but again, I don't think that's a major thing. I don't think you need 2 hours for that in the day. So I think as you start to get work, you could probably cut that one down a bit. One of the things I would say that, again, if you get to the point where you've got a good prison that works, free time is actually a good thing. Because if you've got a mixture of people who maybe want recreation, family, comfort, sleep, bladder, whatever it may be, if you just have free time, they'll go and do whatever they need to do. So even some people will go and shower. So I'd recommend, have as much free time as you can kind of get away with. And I think it will do you not too bad. So, for example, family, with free time, yard time means they stay in the yard. With free time, they'll actually, some of them will go to the phones and some of them will go to sleep. So I think it's worth it. I think, if you can kind of just, get away with it, let's say, you can give them free time. Free time is risky, though, because you can get fights, you can get kind of certain issues as well. So here we go. I've unlocked CCTVs, and I wish I hadn't, because they were phenomenally expensive, and I didn't think they were that good. And also I'm a moron. I didn't actually understand. Firstly, you have to wire them in. Duh. Secondly, you need a CCTV monitor. Duh. And thirdly, you need a guard to be near that CCTV monitor. And a final, duh. And that was kind of annoying for me because I really balls that up. It cost what I thought would be a relatively cheap cost, it actually was a massive cost, and it didn't really give me any benefit whatsoever. Plus, I kept running out of bloody money as well. So I would stress, go straight for prison labor if you can, okay, because you'll reap the benefits a lot quicker. So there we go. That was Prison Architect 1.8. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll certainly bring you some more of this in the near future.